melted buildings. Of course, we'll talk about a lot more. Thanks for being here, and welcome. Here I'm looking at 2001 Space Odyssey pictures, and I think this is a metaphor for the truth. We are these monkeys, and we suddenly stumble upon a glorious monolith way beyond the ability of anything we're able to create, and suddenly we turn on each other. The stronger and more organized begin to turn against the others, begin using tools for acts of war. And I just wanted to mention that a very small channel that I had, it was actually called the Jon Levi Channel. I only had 500 subscribers, has been terminated, very strangely. I only had about 6 or 7 videos on there, most of them dealing with off-grid topics. I never had a strike or anything, and they've just terminated it. And I was just about to load a short off-grid video showing things I've done around my house, and that's when I noticed the channel was gone. And why? Is off-grid living on their radar? I mean, there's thousands of off-grid channels on YouTube with millions and millions of views, not seeming to be censored in any way. And maybe it's just something that I said in these videos. I have petitioned and sent a request of reconsideration, but really, that is probably the most important thing. Unbelievable to me that anyone should complain about our leaders, expecting them to do something or not do something. And I really think as individuals, as families, and small communities, the off-grid idea is the most important. Detaching and still participating in the good parts of the system. But if the system should fail us, we'll be less affected. And I'm sure this could be done in small towns and cities, less oppressive ones, with less oppressive leaders. But while most will protest, or at least in our community, all the flexing of muscle by false authority, and even refuse their medical impositions, they may still continue to buy foods produced by these very same corporations that manufacture poisonous serums. As long as we are dependent on the system, it's easy to be controlled. And I would say we haven't seen anything. Even with all this craziness, I believe we are still free right now to move around and relocate if necessary. And here's a picture of Edinburgh, or Edinburgh, just an old world pic. Everything original and preserved, and absolutely beautiful. And this thing has something to do with water. And here we can see the canals and much underground engineering here. And this is showing some ornamentation in some Cambodian temple. And over here we just see some part of our electrical grid, and we see a great resemblance. This was shared by IRS Media, and he was just combing the California highway, and he found many ruins right off the highway, and most of them overgrown, and yet are these pockets of survival. Of course, keeping in mind that mountains, not all, but many, could be melted buildings, plasmified, along with water and events that we know nothing of that occur during resets. And here again, absolutely fascinating. Off the California highway, I'm not sure what, I think 1. Here's coordinates. And look at this. This should be some historical site. And no, just ignored. And I was just taking screenshots from his video, and he was using the Google tool. Here's some crazy structure that he was showing. And here again, some more of these bricks. And I think these were in Santa Monica. Here another look. Now, would anybody do this? Would anyone just brick this up? Perhaps. And if anyone can go to these coordinates, and I am pretty convinced that this is the remains of a structure. Here we can see her skeleton, or the core, and this is what's missing in our community. It's just cutting into these things, peeling away the mud, or as some would say, volcanic ash. And I don't know, the building could have melted, creating a veil or a rock curtain over the top, or it could also have been covered with a volcanic ash that I proposed in a video long ago as one of a dozen different mud flood theories, which I'll eventually carry over to other theories, like the melted building theory. This could be covered, it could have been rocked by water and mud in some kind of tsunami, but clearly the building or the levels have collapsed, pancaked, and to me this would require some great heat, as we saw on that day in September in New York. And so here, a collapsing, a pancaking, and a dustifying. But again, many theories, I don't know. I wasn't there. But most people, certainly in the mainstream, aren't even going to look at something like this. It's not even on the table as anything but dirt and layers, billions and billions of years of layers. And it's tough when it just looks muddy, just little holes like some Swiss cheese. But here, for example, it gets a little better. Now again, we see these same kind of brick section, and perhaps these are newly added by the Native Americans. But otherwise, the rest is the remains of a melted building, in my opinion, and possibly covered in ash as well. And this is on my to-do list, the Bandelier National Monument in New Mexico. One of my favorite